Nintendo Switch Online has finally arrived.
But is it really worth it?
Hot take! The Day of Judgment has finally arrived, with the Nintendo Switch Online service finally reaching Nintendo Switches. Everybody that was previously playing games online for free now can't do that anymore. You have to get this online service that is very similar to what you'd get with PSN or Xbox Live. The only difference here, though, is that, well, it kind of sucks from what we've played.
Well, I guess it depends on what you want out of this service, right?
I wanted what I was getting for free, and I guess I'm getting that, but...
So that's a big sort of leap-off point, something that we can talk about. So originally, this service was being offered for free. So a lot of folks, probably younger kids, folks that don't have access to a credit card, probably woke up this morning, went to go play, let's say, Splatoon online or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe online, and a little prompt came up that said, hey, you gotta, start your free trial for the Switch Online service. So a credit card is going to be integrated into this. Is this going to be a huge problem for some people?
Yes, of course.
It's probably pretty likely. Nintendo had to push back this online service for a while, and I do believe it is to their detriment, whereas other services have either been strung along from console to console. This was a new thing, and it didn't have the luxury of being there day one.
Now, I'll say this up front, the Nintendo Switch Online service is a lot less expensive than everyone else's service, coming at a much cheaper price.
$4 a month or $29.90. I think it's $19.99 a year.
Doesn't really matter. The price really shows the quality of what they're showing off here. So when you actually go to play it, online service with games, they're just what they are. They run the same way they did previously. There's a lot of features that you're missing from here, like the ability to talk to people online with many of your games, which is one of the cornerstones of Xbox Live and PlayStation Network. So to not have that ability on here without actually having to use an app that you download on your phone is freaking ridiculous. But regardless, what we're going to be talking about the most today is the NES games that they're giving away with this, because they have to have some value to this. And there was an idea of having an online Netflix-like subscription for NES games that I had mentioned previously that I thought was a neat idea, but the way Nintendo has done this kind of feels like they sloppily threw it together really quick.
It does feel lackluster. So where we did talk about them coming out with a Netflix-like service, it just makes sense. We've been talking about it for years because when you think about the big boys in gaming, the developers and the folks that have been making consoles for decades, Nintendo is a prominent fixture, if not the prominent fixture. They have so many titles to go back to, and it feels like it'd be so easy to take so many of these games and have them on a service like this, because we've seen classic consoles that have come out. Pretty easy, I would think, to scoop up these games, these ROMs, and just put them in an online service where you pay monthly and you can play not a couple dozen games, but a couple hundred games at the very least. So we have 20 games now on the Nintendo Entertainment System service, or whatever you want to call it, online. And yeah, it's lackluster.
It's not good. It's really not good.
Yeah.
So I've seen other services like this in the past, whether they be streaming games through Game Live.
OnLive.
OnLive, sorry. OnLive was a service that basically streamed games directly to your PC or tablet, whatever you're using at the time. It wasn't very successful, but it did work fairly well. To my experience, it actually works better than this service, so that's saying something. Mm-hmm. But Microsoft has something called the Game Pass, and that's on the Xbox platform, and it is a really good service. You basically just download copies of games directly to
It's not streaming per se, right?
Not streaming, no, but it's downloading them to your system, and you play it through emulation. If it's an older game or if it's a new game, it plays just like it is. Now, all this being said, we are very shocked, I think both of us are, that these NES games are running the way they are. Now, by themselves, if you play them single player, they seem to run okay.
They're fine.
Yeah. I noticed like one or two things here and there, but it was nothing that really shocked me. The fact that the HUD is not really good looking, you don't seem to have many options for switching this stuff around.
Yeah, can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Options, I feel, are one of the huge things that are lacking from this. Look, we've waited a while to get this sort of service, and I understand that this is something that will grow. I hope it will grow. I hope new things will be added. Right now, this is very bare bones. If you want to go and customize your gameplay experience, look, you have maybe 3 different ways of viewing the game itself. You have a CRT filter,
Yes, you do.
you have 4:3, you have pixel perfect mode, and yeah, there's not all that much there. You can't change the borders. There's less stuff here than there was in the classic systems, and I was kind of hoping that would be on par at least.
All they had to do was just take what was in the classic system and moved it over.
Yeah.
You're missing a lot of things. Borders, a big deal. The border they have on there isn't very good looking. There's a HUD at the bottom that tells you which buttons to hit. Get rid of that. I know what the select and start button is, folks. Like, seriously? I've been playing NES games since I was a kid. I don't need to know where it is on the controller. That is dumb. You're getting into this weird way where they seem to be coddling kids and newer gamers on how to play NES games. They're so basic. Mm-hmm. There are 3 visual options. So you can go 4:3, you can go pixel perfect,
and
or CRT.
mode.
Yeah, there's no widescreen. I know this is not something a lot of gamers want out there that want that customizable home experience, but some folks want to be able to just stretch the image on the screen wide. And the reason they want that is some monitors burn in. So if you actually have like the heads-up display thing at the bottom, that's going to burn in on an OLED TV after a while. If you have a 4:3 image with 2 black bars on the side and the center of the screen is always on, that's going to burn in as well.
Right.
These are things that are simple things that they should have caught way the heck back.
Yeah, so again, keyword is options. We want options to be able to get rid of these HUDs, to change the borders, but as well, when we first started playing, you can't customize the controls on these
No,
things.
you can't. And the way they've set it up is actually bad. So B and A are the main buttons you're supposed to hit. X also exists on that. Yeah,
right.
Got the switch
So,
here.
okay, we have B and A, and then we have, or you can use the X button as the B button as well.
Yeah.
The Y button does nothing.
Yeah, I don't know why, but regardless, you should be able to switch out the controls and modify it to how you see fit, but they don't allow you to do that, which is stupid. Like, it's just a really stupid thing for them not to do. In the Super Nintendo Classic, we have the ability to rewind the game that we're playing and stuff like that. Yeah, none of those features came out here. These are things Nintendo put on their systems previously, and we just don't get it. We do have save states. That's there.
Maybe they're thinking that something like a rewind function would mess with multiplayer functionality in this, but I don't know. There's some other things that they've implemented with multiplayer that seem like they can be very frustrating very quickly. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the experience that we've had playing multiplayer online.
So first off, there's this ability where you can actually point at things on the screen and then you can clap. Get rid of that. Seriously.
Options.
That is so annoying. If you just join somebody that you're playing with and they start doing it all over the screen, it's really annoying. And look, a lot of the games we're gonna be talking about that are on the service, many of them have 2-player modes, but they're not actually 2-player modes. It's wait your turn to play.
Yes.
Boring. Like, that's not, at the time, I get it, they did that, but it's not something that is really multiplayer.
Right.
And when you're playing, basically, people can just put like a hand in front of you and then it claps, and it's so annoying to see that, and it gets in your way.
When you're playing Gradius, it's a big issue.
Yeah, like I kept dying at Gradius, and I don't really suck at Gradius.
Because I kept messing with him.
But then there was also the other problem of actually just the connection was bad.
Yeah, okay. So this was something that wasn't happening every 2 minutes per se, but when you're playing a game that is 30 years old, you don't expect to have little connection issues here or there.
You don't.
And sometimes they were very quick little judders, and then other times we were playing games like Dr. Mario where there were little hits to the connection where we seem to have some issues catching up.
Yeah.
It was
like
very strange.
I actually saw a connectivity issue at the top of the screen at one point. When we're playing and that's happening, now, okay.
Yeah, explain our situation, maybe.
So we're right beside each other playing this, and it's using an online server to do that. We have an incredibly fast internet connection where we're at. We were sitting really close to the wireless router. Seriously, you could not have a better experience than what we have when it comes to internet around here. But for some reason, it just wasn't working well. And what I need to establish too, because I know we're going to get some comments of people that are going, well, it's just the beginning of the service. They're of course going to have issues. Tough. These are NES games running on the Switch. Figure it out before you get to market. This isn't something that needs to be beta tested. You don't need to have 1 million people playing an NES game online to know how it should work. Super Mario Brothers had problems. Every time we were playing one of the games, and like, especially with a puzzle game like Dr. Mario, when something like that happens, it actually affects the game to the point where you can lose. And it just alters it makes these games seem worse than they are.
I don't want to make this seem like this thing's cutting out every other minute, but it depends. Like, it depends on what your internet connection is going to be like, right?
It happened on Gradius. Yeah. Did it need to happen on Gradius?
It happened on Gradius, it happened on Dr. Mario, and it happened in a couple of other experiences that we had. Maybe once or twice per game.
It was either a drop in the controls, or it was like, for some reason, it actually slowed down a bit. You can hear the music tuning in a weird way when that happens.
So one other thing I wanted to kind of touch on, as far as we're talking about like multiplayer, is something else that I'm a little bit miffed about, and that's the fact that you can only play multiplayer online with people on your friends list. I was kind of hoping that you could kind of like broaden your horizons a bit, maybe reach out and meet other folks online and play online that way. But if you do not have your friend in your friends list that is also playing with you, you can't meet a no-name person out there and play a game with them.
It's true. There is just so much there that it's missing. So many features and options.
It is very bare bones.
And I mean, what's really confusing is we know they can do better.
Yeah.
They have done better in the past with the Wii U. I mean, obviously we couldn't play the same way we're doing it now.
Wii U, the Virtual Console, had customizable controls.
Yeah.
They already had that.
Yeah.
Like, there are things that have been implemented in the past that just aren't here. And, okay, maybe if this was day and date with when the Switch first launched, I would give them a little bit more leeway, but this is a service that has been worked on for a long time. Something this bare bones is to me, even though I do give Nintendo, I think, a bit more leeway than you do sometimes, like, it still doesn't feel good to me.
And like, the NES selection that they have there, I know they're going to expand it and make it bigger, but like, one of the things that irritated me is when you see all the games on the screen, they don't line up because it's like an odd number.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like, why would you do that? Why not just add one more game? And then the game selection that they do have, there's a lot there that just...
Yeah, well, okay, we had spoken about how there's some games where the multiplayer is just you play after the other person. I really feel like the games could have been curated a bit better so that it was games where either you're expected to be rotating quicker, like it's a harder game or it's just done in a different way, or they're games where you're both playing at the same time.
Yeah, if it's a game where it's basically you take a turn and I take a turn, something like North vs. South, that makes sense because that's what that's for.
Or Anticipation, the board game.
Right? Yeah. Any of those things make sense, but when it comes to something like this where you're just waiting for one person to play after another, hey, spoiler, Nintendo, if you're watching, maybe you do that with every game. You have the ability to just play any single player game with anyone, so you can just switch and then play with somebody else and switch controls, which you can do online. When you're playing, you have the ability to switch control inputs with somebody else, so that if they're playing on a single player game, you can switch out and have them play. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to have enough of an impact for me. I was expecting to see some kind of snapshot system where, like, do this really quick or like try to achieve this goal in a short amount of time. I was expecting to see something like that.
Like almost like an NES remix kind of thing.
Exactly, right? Yeah. Something like that was built in that gives you a little bit more options, maybe even achievements for doing something or like secret guides, some kind of interesting element to make it more interesting.
Instruction booklets?
Yeah.
Maybe. Instruction booklets.
Maybe
so just a little extra something. Yeah, I
mean, things they've done on the NES Classic, right? This is like, they've done this on the other systems. They've had this on other systems. Earthbound on the Wii U is a great way to play Earthbound, and it's got a lot of features on there.
It has the digital manual. And
it totally does. And what we're getting here is just super underwhelming.
Here's the thing. I know a lot of people play multiplayer stuff online, like Splatoon and Mario Kart Deluxe and all that. I'm not that person, right? So when it comes to this service, I bought into this service specifically with my eye on the NES Online functionality. And coming to this just last night and playing through it today with you and it's just disappointing, and it makes me wonder if I want to continue this service forward if I don't think I'm going to be playing a lot of multiplayer stuff. I just don't. I'm just not one of those people, and maybe this service just isn't made for me.
The thing that makes this so hilarious to me is that the idea is supposed to be this makes the service better because you're supposed to be paying for it, so the servers are going to be better. But they're not going to change the servers out. The games are going to still be running on the same servers they were running previously on. The only difference is now that there is a paywall, less people will be playing. Or so by that metric, the games should be running better online because there's less players. But that's not a good thing. You don't want that to happen. And Nintendo has put themselves in a really awkward position by having a console out there for so long that offered this for free. This NES library should have just been a $10 thing you bought. You know, like something just buy once, bring it onto your system.
The,
and then,
the NES Classic app on your Switch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Either that or they should have had a far more well curated and developed ecosystem for older games where, you know, NES games. If you just want to do NES, give me hundreds of games. Don't give me 20.
Yeah, and look, I know they're going to expand the library, but even if they expand the library by like 5 games a month,
I'm scared they're just going to rotate stuff for
I
the,
think
for
they
the
are.
first like 6 months or so.
Well, you've seen what that library looks like. They clearly weren't looking to actually organize it in any way that would make sense. It's just like a wall of quick images.
To be fair, you can reorganize the library. So, I just don't want to get the wrong messaging out. You can reorganize it, but it's still a bit sloppy.
It just doesn't look like anything that's really going to establish stuff. And I think one of the hopes with this was that maybe we'll see SNES games, maybe we'll see N64 games. From what I can tell here, that's not going to happen. They did not set it up in a way that would warrant that. The amount of buttons you would need for N64, and then the way that they've done the emulation.
The fact that they're just releasing those $60 controllers as well is kind of saying to me, hey, the NES library as it is right now, we're just going to be working with NES games for the foreseeable future because these game pads are going to be out there, and we're probably not going to see other game pads like the SNES gamepad or a possible N64 gamepad like next month or even like 4 months from now. If they're going to have that integration, it's going to be a bit.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm so confused about is like, why didn't they just take the NES Classic library of games and bring that over to this system in this format?
Because then they won't sell any more NES Classic.
So stop making them. Just sell more Switches. Why not? Why not have that good library on here? Everyone praised that library, and then they can keep expanding it as time goes on. Just call this the NES Classic service or something. But
yeah, I agree with you.
Basically, what they're doing here is they're swirling around ideas. They wanted to make an online service that charged something because they want to make more money. And this is the best way they could do it, and their best is clearly their worst.
Okay, so let's just kind of wrap this up. $4, is it worth it to you for $4 a month for just this service and multiplayer?
I think it's worth trying the trial out for, and if there's some online games on the Switch that you really like, maybe at that point that's why you get into it.
There are great online games.
There absolutely are.
The gripe that we have is that yesterday, before a specific time, you could play them for free.
Yeah, I mean
online for free.
Brawl is going to be coming out soon, and I know a whole bunch of people are going to want to play Brawl online.
We're going to be playing Brawl.
Is Brawl's online service going to be good? Is it going to be stable? Is it going to be something that people are going to be okay with?
Because it's being paid for now, so it better be good.
Yeah, well, you know what, folks? I have my doubts, but what do you think? Are you excited to try out more of these online features? Has the NES library impressed you, or has it kind of made you upset that it didn't deliver on everything?
What do you think they're going to do in the future? Let us know.